Well, there's no snow on the ground yet, but it is the very end of November. So I've decided to go ahead and get started on this year's winter shop project number one, which is my 1947 Farmall H. I need to find out why the transmission has become so noisy and a little bit hard to shift. So I'm going to start working on this today. I've had this tractor for probably about 20 years. I like it. It's been really reliable. What I use it for mainly right now is in the springtime to cultivate my organic field corn. You can tell I've got the 2-row cultivators for it. It's got the brackets there for the cultivators. It also has the live hydraulic pump on there. Someone at some point has converted this over to live hydraulics. And when I got this tractor 20 years ago, I bought it from a friend of mine who picked it up at an auction. It had a big loader on it that he wanted, so I bought the tractor from him. At that time, I put this hydraulic control on it, plumbed that around. One thing I'd kind of like to do with this sometime is ditch the belt pulley mechanism there, because I will never use a belt pulley, and maybe fabricate some sort of a reservoir for the hydraulic system and put a filter on it. What they did with most of these tractors that were converted over from the belly pump to the live hydraulic pump there, they just used the old belly pump there as the hydraulic reservoir. It's pretty small, and I don't know, I've just kind of got in my head that I'd like to do something a little bit different with that. So that might be something that's on the horizon here. When I got this tractor, it had a really crappy jerry-rigged seat on it that was really terrible. So back about 20 years ago, I created this bracket and put this seat on it. I know it's not original, but it's comfortable and I like it, so I'll be keeping that on. This tractor, I've also got a set of the old clamshell style fenders. These are actually off an 806. I happen to have them because the 806 I had, when we got that, these fenders were on the 806, and at that time I happened to have a set of flat top fenders for the 806. So I know these aren't original, but they work. Again, I sort of manufactured a bracket there and put them on. I probably will actually get the proper muffler for this tractor and put it on it. It's just when the old muffler rusted out while I was cultivating corn, I just happened to have one in the shed that fit on here, so I stuck that on there. But yeah, that kind of bothers me. I'm going to get the proper muffler. So otherwise, I've got the old tires here. I have never done anything with the tires. These are the tires that were on it when I got it. They're older than the hills and hard as a rock, but they hold the tractor up, so at this point that's good enough for me. So I'm going to start taking this apart today. I'll pull the fenders and the seat off, the hood, the gas tank, everything there that I need to get out of the way so I can pull the top of the deck off. I'll get that ready to go and bring the shop hoist over here and pull that up and see if I can see why this transmission has gotten so noisy. It's really growly. I don't know if there are bad bearings in that or what's going on. So in any event, we'll get to work at this and see what we can find. All right, I've got just about all the things that were in the way out of my way now. I've been at this a couple of hours now. Nothing really fought too seriously, so now I'll take these bolts out of the top of the deck, take the belt pulley drive off, get the hoist over here and pull the top off and see what I've got. I've got the grease draining out of it. Yeah, it looked like a lot like butterscotch pudding. Obviously some water in there. I have actually changed the transmission and rear end grease in this tractor once. Oh, maybe 12, 15 years ago. Yeah, maybe you should do it at least once a decade or so, I suppose. So, well, we'll keep going and see what we've got here. All right, we've got the top cover off the transmission, and I've been looking this over a little bit. There was quite a bit of water in here, starting to get dark outside, and I've got my little trouble light here, but just off the immediate inspection here, I can see at least 2 bearings that are out. This is the brake drum. The bull pinion is just inside of that. And I don't know if you can see this, but the brake drum, you can move back and forth, up and down, all over the place. So the bearing just inside here is clearly out. You probably can't see the bull pinion that's down in there, but that moves around quite a bit too. And looking at the main shaft here, as I move the ring gear, you can see the I don't know how much you can see it, but the back of the main shaft moves around a lot. The bearing in here, just behind the pinion, is out, and just the front of the main shaft here, just again, I don't know how much this shows up on the video, but I can move this around a lot here. So I'm thinking there are issues up in there somewhere too, and I don't even know about the counter shaft down there. So yeah, we've got some issues here. So I think tomorrow I'm going to clean things up, take some more things apart, see what I have, and decide how to approach this. Like I said, it looks like there's been a fair amount of water in here. Some of the gears show some signs of pitting, so I'm not sure. I'll just have to clean things up and see what I have. One possibility, there are plenty of H's out there available for parts. I might just go find another transmission rear end and bolt on that part, but then I'm taking a chance because you know, these things are 60, 70 years old, so there's no guarantee that another one I get won't be much better than this one. So I have some thinking to do on this. We'll go ahead. I can be in the shop all day tomorrow, so I'll probably drop the belly pump, start taking the transmission apart, and see what I find. And once I find out exactly what we have here, I'll figure out how to deal with it. But yeah, we have issues, but the H will ride again. It's just a matter of how we'll get there. So onward we go. Okay, I've got the transmission partially torn down in my H Farmall here, and there's the top cover leaning up against the wall, and I've got the components here on my shop bench, and well, what I found is not too good. This is the pinion shaft. That's the pinion that goes on the ring gear there. This was the main bearing that goes on there, and as you can see, that bit's really loose, really rough. This bearing is shot. It shouldn't sound like sleigh bells. I'll put it that way. This is the race of the bearing, the pilot bearing, where the front drive shaft goes meets this one in there. Obviously, this one is shot. There are no rollers. The rollers fell out when I took it apart. This is the front drive shaft. In the transmission. These are the it goes in this carrier and sticks out the front of the transmission. These two bearings are also really loose and really rough. They are bad. And also in here is where the pilot bushing from here, this slips into there, and there's no race. The rollers roll on this, and so of course this is shot. So this piece here is no good either. Also, this is the second and third gear cluster, and I don't know how well you can see this, but this third gear, the smaller one is third gear here, and there's a lot of the ends of the teeth are battered, and there are quite a few teeth on this thing that are actually chipped almost all the way across. So I would not feel comfortable putting this back in the tractor either. And another interesting thing I've seen, this tractor's been apart before. Of course, it's 70 years old, so it's not surprising, but these two bearings go in this part of the housing. And I don't know if it shows up, but you can see the little dots in there on both sides. The one bearing sits on this side, the other bearing sits in here. But if you can see all the little dots in there, what that is when someone had this apart before, these outside bearing races did not fit tightly in there, so someone took a punch and punched little holes all the way around there. Knurling, that's called. What that does is kind of expand the metal on each side of where you punch it, and that way they got the bearings to sit tightly in the cover there. So that's a little bit troubling also. And I'll walk back over here to the tractor. Get my trouble light on here. I bought this little LED trouble light at Farm and Fleet a while back. It's really nice. It's rechargeable. It's LED. It's got magnets on it. It's really nice. I really like this. So anyway, I will stick my little trouble light there with the magnet, and the counter shaft of the transmission is down there, and of course the bearings are shot in it too. But what's really troubling, I don't know if you can see it, the outer race of this on the rear of the counter shaft. I'm not sure how well this is going to show up when I wiggle it, but anyway, like I said, I'm not sure how well it shows up. It looks to me like the outer race there is actually loose in the housing when I wiggle it, which is troubling, kind of like the bearings in that in the front housing there. So that's as far as I've got this torn apart. Like I said, I know the bearings in the bull pinion here on the inside of the brake drums. I know they're shot, they're loose. This side isn't quite as loose as this, but they're all shot. And of course, as long as every other bearing in here is bad, there's nothing to say that these, wouldn't be hard to believe that the big bearings, the inner axle bearings that are on the other side of the bull gears here, there's no reason to believe they might not be bad as well. So basically right now, I'm not going to take this apart any farther. I've got the numbers written down on some of the bearings, but that I'll go on and start pricing some stuff. But basically right now I'm leaning very strongly towards finding a different transmission rear end for this tractor. Basically every bearing in the thing is shot. It needs some gears. It's in pretty rough shape. It's no wonder that it was really, really growly and noisy and not shifting well. So that's it for right now. I'm not going to go any farther with this until I figure out what I'm going to do. Maybe I will find a used rear end. Maybe I'll find a parts tractor. Maybe I will find a tractor to replace this with. I don't know. I paid $600 for this tractor 20 years ago, so it's done pretty well. So at any rate, I will post again when I make a decision on what I'm going to do with this. So until then, have a good day.